felt great. And so it's not that big of a deal to bump him up one day on his recovery and rest routine after throwing so few pitches. And Tanner looked awesome. He looked great and certainly looked like a legit SEC weekend starter in that brief stint.
Trying to get him on the rewind, guys. We just couldn't do it. David Nuno here on a Friday, March the 1st. Is that right, Matthew Dawson?
Friday, March 1st. Correct.
You got to talk into the mic. Tell the people how it was, because today he was the director of the show.
A couple mistakes here or there, but we're gonna go back.
People can't see you. That's not good.
We're gonna watch film. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna figure out what we need to do to be better. Nick was only slightly disappointed today. I think next week he'll be less disappointed.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm sorry, by the way, that was like a 12-minute discussion about directing. Nobody cares about that. Zoe, did he do okay? Jackson, what was your favorite part of the show?
Don't everybody move fast or not.
I would say the final hour of Billy.
I'm just going to end the segment like this. We had Billy on the show. We had Mark French on the program. We had the Baseball Bunch on the program. And we talked a lot about college football. And Nick Savage is throwing balls at people. It's the Rewind. Thanks for watching.
Let's do this. I want to get into some baseball stats that Ethan sent me, but Sutton's on hold. He wants to talk a little bit about the college playoff format, and let's go to the hotline. We're joined by Sutton. Sutton, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, guys. Good to talk with you. I don't know if you've already hit it this morning, but I want to ask your opinion on this whole 3 automatic qualifiers from the Big 10, the SEC, 2 automatic qualifiers for the Big 12, and 2 automatic qualifiers for the ACC. And I was sitting here thinking about if you're the 3rd team in the SEC, that means you don't have to go most likely and play in the SEC championship game, so you get a week off more than your competition. You most likely will have a home game that first playoff game. And so can these automatic qualifiers, do you think that they could really hurt the champions of these leagues? Let's just say, take, for example, the Big 12. They're going to have their top 2 teams playing for the Big 12 championship, but both of those teams are automatically qualified for the 2026 football playoff. And so I just, when we're talking about resting players and having players ready for the big game, does the big game no longer be the championship, the conference championship, and totally move to a 12, 14, or 16-team playoff?
Yeah, in basketball, I have talked to coaches before, not multiple coaches, that have said, like in the SEC, it was not just SEC, in conference tournament, we want to win one game and get out.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily playing my starters the way I normally would because I know I'm in the tournament. I don't care about getting the SEC tournament. What I think what Sutton's on to something there.
Do they do away with the conference championships then?
Yeah, I think you're trending that way, but which I think is unfortunate. So my position's always been the conference champion is the only automatic bid. Now let's be realistic. 3-4 teams from the SEC
Are getting
almost every year are going to get it anyway, but only one gets an automatic bid, and that's the champion. Make your conference championship mean something.
Well, my thing is the consistency, and I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I know in SEC play, I think their best run was 3 straight wins, right? I think that was their best run. So
3.
Yeah, how can they do better than that? It's the end of the season. I don't think they can.
Right. Yeah. So if you go back after the Ole Miss loss at home, they beat Florida by 1, Missouri by 19 at their place, and then that was the big Tennessee win at home, the number 6, when they were number 6. So that was our second win against the top 6 team in a matter of 3 weeks. And so at that point in the season, you're like, dang, all right, they're about to catch fire. You got at Vandy, you can get to 4 in a row. And then Bama, Arkansas split those. Tennessee, South Carolina try to split those. So we were doing that whole thing, right? And so I completely understand where you're coming from. You asked if there's any hope or should we turn the page. I don't think it's time to turn the page. And I do think there's one last little glimmer here where they could, go beat Georgia and then let's regroup with a big game coming up against Mississippi State. So I'm not ready to turn the page quite yet, to answer your question. But yeah, 3 in a row is the most they've won. Really the turning point in the season, in my opinion, was probably that Vanderbilt loss on the road. Because that would have been 4 in a row and give you a little bit of wiggle room and forward momentum.
It is time, or we're going to continue on with the baseball bunch. Bronny, we'll start off with you. Tanner Jones is going to go Saturday. Justin Lampkin going Sunday. Your thoughts on the flip-flop for this weekend?
Yeah, I listened to Schloss's press conference, so what else can you take from it other than what he said? And, they've been working on some stuff with Justin, I think, to just try to improve some of his offerings and on the analytical side, make them present better or, I guess, present harder to hit to opposing batters. And so I think that probably means – I don't know this. I think what that probably means, Scotty, is that his bullpen session in the week was probably a little bit more intense than it had been. So they wanted to give him an extra day's rest. And Tanner only threw, 20-something pitches. Yeah. Felt great. And so it's not that big of a deal to bump him up one day on his recovery and rest routine after throwing so few pitches. And Tanner looked awesome. He looked great and certainly looked like a legit SEC weekend starter in that brief stint.
Well, and I also think it's never bad to go righty, lefty, or lefty, righty. Go the other way. It gives a different picture to what your opponents are seeing. And if they're piggybacking, Jones and Sadeo right now, not very many teams in the country can piggyback like that, because Sadeo does come out of the bullpen and is like he has been warmed up and it's a first pitch start. I mean, he is really excellent at that. So I think that USC, as I said, they've got like 4 home runs. They're hurting with what they're going to do offensively. They're going to pitch some guys, but they're hurting with what they're going to do offensively. And I think the guy that they're going to run out against A&M is not over a strikeout an inning. So is he going to try to get by on Guile? Well, we see some of those guys have success against A&M this year, but I still think that you can still see opportunities this weekend to really get after the opponents and really expose their weaknesses is probably what I would say. If you get in the bullpen for Arizona State, you can expose their weakness. If you dominate pitching-wise against USC, you can expose their weakness in hitting.
Without Boots or Henry, they come back from 20-plus down to beat an Iowa State team that's going to be a high-seeded team in this tournament. I've seen them at their best. And I'm not saying that they're the team that beat Kentucky and Tennessee, but I'm saying if that's them at their best, and those instances I mentioned are them at their best, I think that what I expected out of them would be like the team that beat Florida, at home there.
Right.
That's the kind of team I thought we'd see from A&M all year.
Me too.
And I listened to French, and it looked like they were gaining momentum in such a big way there. And you looked at that schedule and you saw Vandy and you saw Arkansas, and you're just going, you can catch South Carolina at home because South Carolina is not nearly as good on the road, and they've got a huge home court advantage, and so does A&M. If they'd have had momentum, the other night the fans that were there were great, but imagine had you just beaten Vandy and Arkansas.
Yeah.
Even forget about Tennessee. You're beating Vandy
You're
and
in.
Arkansas, but also that crowd. So yeah, if you would have told me this team was going to go 11-7 in the conference without Marble, I would have said, maybe not. They might surprise you and go 13-5, or I could see 12-6, 11-7. That I wouldn't have.
I never would have.
They might go
this.
7-11.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, we're going to let Nick Savage close it out. Nick?
I don't really want to close it out. All you got to know about Jackson is he really likes Logan Paul.
Is that true? Is that true?
I'm not going to defend myself on the rewind.
They can't hear you. Just yes or no. So he's not a Logan Paul fan. He's a Jake Paul fan. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time.